What's up, everybody? The postseason is here. We have HBCUs that are winning, and you are winning, and we are winning because we are here together. But I'm the biggest winner because I'm hanging out with Liv for Hoops. Let me give you the classic heart sign. What's up, Liv? We're coming off that big Howard win on Tuesday night against UMBC, their first ever in program history. What did that win, 86-83, mean for the Bison?
I mean, like you said, it was the first one ever in program history. So we're knocking that out of the history books, and they got it done. And it was a long time since, I believe Stephen posted an article since MEAC team had won a game. So, history makers, we're trying to move our programs in the right direction, and we need to win those games when we're put in them, especially those first four. We just another clinch in the history books for the Bison. So that was a phenomenal win last night in the way they pulled it out.
Oh, man, they were rolling, and then UMBC started that comeback, and Howard missed some free throws, and then that desperation three. Liv, it felt like the ball hung in the air for like 10 seconds. I was like, please don't go in. Please don't go in. But they held on. Are you a fan of the first four? At first, I didn't like it, but the more I've gotten used to it, I like the opportunity that a 16 seed doesn't have to go immediately against the number one seed, and 99.5% of the time, they're going to lose that game. I like teams, having an even matchup and getting a chance to get a win in the tournament.
Yeah, I think I do like the first four because, as you said, it gives teams that opportunity to play more of a fair match. My only thing that I've been saying across my socials is that I want teams placed in that first four that deserve to be ranked as a 16 seed. So my only hung up is when teams are placed there that deserve potentially a higher seed, I would like to see their resumes respected. But, when you have that opportunity, it's way better than just being a straight up 16 because you also get those units that come if you are able to win and cash in that money for your respective conference. But for sure, it gives opportunity. Again, we saw Alabama State men win last year. We saw Southern win last year. And so, if we're going to be placed there, I just want to see us win so we get the extra little coin in our bank.
Well, Tennessee State got a little respect. They didn't automatically just fall into a 16. Look, they won their conference co-champion regular season. They win the tournament. They are a 15 seed. They'll take on number 2 seed Iowa State. That now is a little different than 16 versus 1. A 16 has only beat a 1 time, unless I'm mistaken. That's when UMBC, which we saw last night, beat Virginia a couple of years ago. But HBCUs on 4 different occasions have won that 15-2 matchup. What are your chances that you're giving Tennessee State a very, very potent offense? Those two guys in the backcourt for them can get it done. What chances are you giving Tennessee State against Iowa State?
Iowa State is obviously they're a 2 seed. They're a very good team. But with Tennessee State, if they come out with the same intensity and offensive firepower and defensive energy on the other end that they did in that OVC championship, where they set the record for the largest victory in the OVC championship and the most points scored in an OVC championship game, we can expect it to be very competitive. It's definitely going to run through their PG1, Dante Harris, and then obviously the OVC Player of the Year, Aaron Nkrumah, and Travis Harper, the second out on the wings, working that offense. So the biggest thing is how are they going to start this game, right? You don't want to get into a position where you dig yourself into a hole. But I mean, I like the energy they played with in that OVC championship. So if they can bottle that up and bring it into this matchup, they can make things very interesting.
Now, not all of these 15 versus 2 upsets have been like buzzer beaters down to the wire. This is my moment to shine. This is where those gray hairs come in. Let's go back in the Wayback Machine, see what I can remember. I think it was 1993. Southern beat Georgia Tech 15-2 seed. They won that game. It wasn't even close. Like they took it to. I think they shot 70% in the second half. 1990. Now this is before your time, Liv. 1997. Coppin State beat South Carolina. I think it might not have been double digits. It might have been like 8 points somewhere along there, but it didn't come down to the wire. Then in 2001, Hampton and Iowa State, that 15-2 matchup. Then you go to 2012, and that was Norfolk State beating Missouri in a 15-2. So it has happened. They're not all close. This I like the number 5. This could be the 5th time, Liv. What would that mean for Nolan Smith, the year that they've had, if they were to come in and make some noise here in the first round?
I mean, when you look at the season he's already had, how phenomenal it's been, that would just be like the cherry on top, right? Like they win the OVC, they set all these records in the OVC. He gets Coach of the Year. They have Player of the Year. They have a two first team selections, a second team selection, an all newcomer team. So that would definitely just be the cherry on top and be like, wow. And I know people will be like, and what were other schools waiting on to pull the trigger on him? You know, when I've already seen the comments after he won the OVC and people were like, oh, and this school passed on him. So, I mean, not only would that be great for him, his own career, but you know, showing what he can do as a coach, but for Tennessee State and for HBCUs, because, you know, they are in that independent conference. And so it definitely will put respect on his name, Tennessee State, and all of HBCUs.
All right, Prairie View A&M, they are champions in the SWAC. There they go, right there. No NIL budget, an 8 seed. Byron Smith and the boys had to win 4 games in a row in Atlanta. It's never been done in SWAC history. They did it. They take on Lehigh Wednesday night. A winnable game. It's better than playing a 1 to get started. What chances do you give? Again, another great 1-2. Maybe we can now say after the SWAC tournament, a 1-2-3 offensive punch for Prairie View against Lehigh. How do you stack up this matchup, Liv?
Yeah, I really like the way Prairie View played through that SWAC tournament. As you said, the 1-2-3, because not only was Dante Horn the SWAC outstanding player of the tournament, was he on another level, but Lance Williams and Corey Wells definitely joined the party and were just as potent and important. And obviously they have their other pieces. I really like Prairie View in this matchup simply because as I was watching film on Lehigh and really trying to understand the team, because they're not a team I watch quite frequently, I think with Prairie View's ability to have multiple scorers who can create off the dribble, can shoot from the perimeter, and really get into those creases into the lane, I'm going to pick Prairie View just because of their scoring potency. And as I said, Byron Smith changed their defense in going towards the end of the season and going into the SWAC tournament, where they now switch everything 1-5. And that's why we saw the success that they had. It really started on the defensive end. And so just with the scoring power they have, and as I watched how Lehigh defended driving lanes, how they defend the pick and roll, and Holy Cross, a number 10 team who they played in the first round and had to beat on a half-court heave. I saw how Holy Cross was kind of picking them apart throughout the game. And so with the ability Prairie View has with multiple shot creators and shot takers, I'm feeling very confident for the Panthers tonight.
Liv, what does this say about Prairie View? Look, they made no bones about it. There's no budget there. You look over, North Carolina Central didn't win the MEAC, but they survived injuries. They made it to the championship game. I know for a fact. No budget over there either. Are there teams, do you think, that will rise to the top just because the players are there because they want to be there? Maybe they're more compatible. Maybe the pieces fit because there's no arguing about, who has a Ferrari and who doesn't. A Ferrari is crazy when you're talking about HBCU NIL, but you get the point. Do you think that we can, because I feel like we kind of saw this through the one and done era, like when one and done just became like a thing and everybody was going to the draft. Then you started seeing teams like Butler, Gonzaga started, making it to the Final Four. You're like, Butler's in the championship game? Like, how did this happen? Do you think that could be an unintended consequence, a byproduct of our new era of NIL?
I definitely do. And I think when I was listening to Coach Smith in the pressers, he, as you said, there's no budget there, but he just had a bunch of guys who were hungry and wanted the opportunity to play. And so when you're getting those guys in who, they just want to win, they just want to be on the floor, whatever their situation was before prior, and they can come together, I think it's definitely we'll see teams who will start to rise to the top just based off of hunger alone. And, money can be a motivator for a lot of people, but it can also cause some discrepancies of if you're not producing, why are we paying you type of thing. And so when you have guys who are they're wanting to get after it because one, they want to win at the school they're at, and two, they have aspirations past their college that they're trying to work hard for. I think that's why we saw Prairie View being so successful. They just wanted to play for each other, right? They built that brotherhood, and the players talk about that a lot, that they're nothing without each other. And so, they just were able to get it done and grind it out with no money involved, which is, I love that. They wanted the opportunity.
All right, so we got 3 men in the NCAA tournament, 3 men's teams. No one made it on the men's side to the NIT because they got rid of the automatic qualifiers if you won the regular season, and no one gets invited. And some of the we don't get invited, I should say. One of the tournaments folded. I didn't even realize that, or at least yeah. And then there was another one that did not play this year. They said they'll be back. And then there's the Crown. I didn't even know there was this thing called the Champions Crown, Basketball Crown. Yeah. There's 8 teams in that. But so that was a representation for the men. On the women's side, we did get more. Let's start, though, in the NCAA. Southern is going to be in the first 4, and they will play Samford in Columbia, South Carolina. The Southern women were a contender all year long in the SWAC. They hit some bumps and bruises along the way. They didn't finish with the top 1 or 2 seed, but tournament time, Carlos Funches and his girls do what they always do, and they make it to the championship game. How do you forecast this Southern game coming up against Samford?
I think that we don't have to worry about the Jags handling business tomorrow. I'm going to be very honest. I think that the tournament basketball we saw from Southern is exactly what we expected to see all season. But, they got it done when it mattered, and they got that bid to the SWAC tournament. They also, as we want to remember, they have 2 P4 wins in their non-conference schedule. So I think they're going to come in with the depth that they have on their bench, which Carlos Funches always talks about. That's a part of his culture, is having a deep bench in their defense. I think they're going to go in there. They're going to handle business. And from the jump, like we saw against Alabama State, from the jump of that game, Southern was like, listen, we're making it known we're about to win this game. And so I feel like they're going to come out with that same energy and move on to face number 1 South Carolina.
All right, and that'll be something. But you got to get there first. You got to get there first. But I'll be happy to see that. Of course, that'll be just the toughest thing ever. But the intentionality that the coaching staff there at South Carolina has when it comes to HBCUs, and I don't want to put the cart before the horse, handle your business in this first 4 matchup. But anytime, South Carolina visited. South Carolina played on the road at Coppin this year, right?
They did, yep.
Yeah, so a lot of respect there, and a great program at South Carolina, obviously. All right, let's talk about Howard, the Howard women, because Howard swept the MEAC. Not going to be easy for them. They have Ohio State.
Mm-hmm. And, everyone kept asking me, what seed do you think Howard's going to get? What seed? And I was like, I never know what the NCAA is going to do, what the deciding committee is going to do, because a lot of where our teams get seated, it does depend on how other conferences do. But, I think that was where they deserve to be. When you look at their out-of-conference schedule, all Division I wins this year. They didn't even schedule a non-Division I. They had a really, really, really high-quality resume, and they were the regular season champs, the MEAC tournament champs, and so they're definitely going to have their hands full. But I know the Bison and Coach Ty Grace are rolling in there. They're going to be ready for the game, what's at hand, and they're going to go in there and compete and show why they deserve to be a 14 seed.
All right. So, and we've seen that respect over the years, and I don't want to say it started with Jackson State, but it was definitely solidified with you saw Jackson State during the previous coach. Look, Tamika Reed was there, 16, then a 15, then a 14, and that game where that LSU game was oh my god. Oh, my God. So I love seeing that respect of how you climb up and you're just not going to be given that 16 seed automatically. All right. On the SWAC side, Alabama A&M won the regular season. They did not win the conference championship, so the tournament, so they don't go to the NCAA tournament, but they go to the Women's Basketball Invitation Tournament. I said that right? The WBIT.
Yes.
Now, I want people at home to get this, Liv, because I was initially looking at the NIT field first, but the WBIT is run by, sponsored, sanctioned, the whole deal by the NCAA. So it's almost like that's the place you want to be if you don't make the field of 68, right?
Yeah, exactly. And even that's why their selection is also on the same night as the NCAA tournament seeding. And when you go to the WNIT website, it will say teams that choose like the WBIT, they have that disclaimer on their website. So that is definitely the next tier down. And so that's a great accomplishment for Alabama A&M to get to that. We also saw North Carolina A&T participated in it last year. And so if we're not going to get in the NCAA tournament, I want to see our best teams get selected for these additional postseason tournaments.
All right, so let's get to the game. Alabama A&M is going to have to make a road trip. Provo, Utah, to take on the top seed in the WBIT, and that is BYU. It'll be a huge opportunity and a huge challenge at the same time, Liv.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, BYU, traveling to Utah in general is going to be really hard because I feel like their air elevation, but it's also the time difference, how far away it is. But I know Coach Thornton.
And it's Utah.
I know Coach Thornton and the Lady Bulldogs are going to go in there and be ready to show their brand of basketball. We haven't seen them back down to anyone this year, so I know they're going in with the same mentality they've had the entire season of, we can win this game. We're not coming in here scared of anyone. And I really, truly hope that they make a name because that would be a massive win on the road with the extreme travel. And so, we want to see that happen.
All right. In the women's NIT field, the National Invitation Tournament, we have three teams. We have Alcorn State, we have Norfolk State, and we have Maryland Eastern Shore. And a couple of our ladies' teams actually are hosting games in the WNIT, right?
Yes, so we have Alcorn State who will be hosting South Alabama. And it's actually, once I got to talking to people to figure out Alcorn's history, it's been like a couple decades since they've qualified for a postseason opportunity. So the fact that they got into the WNIT and they get to host a game on the reservation, I hope they pack that gym out and really show celebration for this team and come out because they're playing. Anyone who was paying attention during the conference tournament, South Alabama went on a really deep run in their conference tournament. And there's actually a former Alabama State Hornet on that team. And so we should see a really good game. And then we have Norfolk State, who's hosting as well. They'll host Loyola of Chicago, which should be another really good game. So people need to pack Eccles and get out there. And then UMES will travel on the road to Wake Forest to take them on. So I'm hoping, we go 3 for 3, at least be competitive in those games, but a great additional postseason opportunity for all three of those teams.
All right, I'm going to ask you this question, Liv. I feel like the answer might be on the women's side, but I'm not going to pigeonhole you to that. All right, we want our guys and our girls to make some noise out of all the postseason teams, no matter NCAA, NIT, WBIT, women's NIT. Which team, if any, and you can say none if you think that's fair, which team, if any, do you think can win 2 games in their tournament?
Oh my goodness, I feel. You putting me on the spot.
That's what I do, Liv. That's what I do.
when looking at, first round matchups, potential second round matchups, while I feel many of our teams are capable and qualified, I definitely am going to say Norfolk State. I like the way they finished the season, and if you saw the way they ended the regular season in a blowout against Howard and the way they bounced back in that championship game, just with the way they played defense, them being the last time I looked at the stats, they were in the top 25 defensively. They have a player who's top 10 in steals. And so when you play that defense, you can get pretty far. So I'm going to go with them, but I hope they all win 2 games. But for sure, I believe Norfolk State has what it takes just based off of their guard, because I think a lot of it starts with the people you have up front. Their guard defense is really next level, and I think they'll come in with that energy as well.
Well, Liv, it has been so much fun. Look, basketball season is winding up. We hope it extends for our HBCUs as long as possible. But this was the first year that you and I, first year we met in person. And you are the tallest woman I've ever met.
Oh, my gosh, you guys, he's lying.
Liv thought I was short, and she was like, how tall are you? Because when we meet, I don't want you to feel like a certain way. So that's our inside joke whenever I call Liv the tallest woman I've ever met. It has been a pleasure. I just knew you online. It was like Liv for Hoops. We may have exchanged a couple of messages, but we got to meet in person. We got to do shows here at HBCU Go. We were at tournaments together. It's just been really fun. And you are one of the smartest people that I know when it comes to basketball. And I just can't wait to see all the different places you end up taking this passion of yours. So it's just been a lot of fun, and I just wanted everybody, and I wanted you to know that.
Thank you, Tolly. That really means a lot, seriously a lot. I'm very appreciative, and I'm also thankful to you. You've helped me a lot this season, and I've loved being able to work with you and, helping you not zip your sweater all the way up your neck.
Yeah. Liv is a little, she's a little young buck, so she helps an old guy out from time to time. Here's the thing I wanted to ask you. How did I just noticed? I just watched you at the tournament, and everybody who had a radio at the SWAC tournament, everybody who had a radio broadcast, who had the podcast, was like, Liv, come on, Liv. Were they wearing you out this year? Liv was in demand.
I mean, I was like a social butterfly that entire tournament and I don't want to take away the opportunity to truly talk about teams in depth. And a lot of people who are asking me to be on their shows, they've shown me genuine support. And so I want to give that back in return. But it was a lot. I'd be running here. Anyone who saw, I was literally walking around the gym the entire time. But it was really fun. And I love the opportunity to go and speak and be able to meet all those people in person. So it was great. But it was very much it's taken me 3 days to recoup, because it was just I was doing a lot of talking.
You were. If you're ever at an airport, an arena with Liv, do not share a ride-share driver. Liv has the worst luck with her ride-share drivers.
Only in Atlanta, though. That's the only place.
If Liv ever says, come on and get in here, let's split this. No, don't go with Liv. She has crazy stories about the drivers that she ends up getting. But so glad you survived Atlanta.
Right, yes.
And Liv got some good food. I saw Liv was not on the struggle plate in Atlanta. She knew how to pick out the places to eat, too. So I'm glad you had a great time. Look forward to hopefully talking about another upset right here on HBCU Game Day. We'll keep you up to date, and thank you guys so much for hanging out with us. We love Liv. Liv loves hoops. Thank you guys. Prairie View tonight. More games throughout the week. The postseason is here.